and Isekai genre has one very common similarity that I hate the most, and that would be generic plots. Tell me, how many isekais can you put in this plotline? A character is hit by a truck, or is teleported to another world and becomes the strongest person in the world with no reason or goal, so he just wanders around the globe with no ultimate objective. But the Eminence in Shadow puts our isekai to shame, and here's why. The main character can nuke a city. Later he nukes a sanctuary. While hiding his identity as a background character, he created his own cult, but he doesn't realize that. He thinks the followers are just playing with him, while they think he's a genius. Emphasis on the genius part. That was basically an introduction to the main character of the show, Cid Kageno. When he was a kid, he was inspired by superheroes who work behind the scenes, and from there he set out to becoming one himself. You can call it a childish dream, he himself even admits it. But what separates him from our kid's dream is that his dream never changed, instead it grew stronger. He fully believes that power comes to those who seek it and will do anything to achieve it, so he trained in all types of martial arts to become stronger. When he became 18 years old, he hit his physical limit, and when he had to separate reality from fiction, he realized that no matter how hard he trains, he will always be stopped by bullets or nuclear explosions. So rather than accepting reality, he went on a journey to find supernatural power. A sane person would give up and face reality, but an insane person like Cid, he fully believed that he had the potential to become even stronger, to the point of surviving nuclear explosion at point-blank range with the help of supernatural ability. So after bashing his head to the rock so he could merge with nature, he finds two lights which he believes to be magic, but in reality what he found was death by blood force trauma from a Trocon and was reincarnated. In his defense, he did discover magic, so everything was fine for him, with a small side effect of being a newborn. Objection: he's now a little kid, he lost his hard work and needs to start over. That is a huge side effect for a normal person. You can't just say it's okay. It's okay because he didn't care. Actually, he took advantage of it by perfecting the body from day one, and his training paid off since he can control magic from his previous training, probably when he hit his head. The reason this story is so great is not because of a main character, but also because of the fascinating supporting characters and the world building, which is full of mysteries that are slowly being unraveled while giving our characters some screen time. If every show had those elements, it would be worth rewatching it multiple times to catch any missed details. For example, when Cid and Princess Rose Oriana are traveling together, the train shakes, startling Rose. Cid becomes curious as to why a capable Dark Knight would be startled by the shake, and 4 episodes later, it was finally revealed that she was one of the possessed, which meant she did not have a long time to live. But this disease has both good and bad effects. It affects people who carry the Diablo's blood. A long time ago, the drug was created out of a demon's blood to increase a person's magical power. However, if a person can't control the power, it will harm their body and eventually kill them. It is possible to cure it by guiding the magical energy within the body. This is how Cid saved his first possessed girl and wanted the girl to support him. But to do that, he needed a concrete goal for the girl to follow. So he gaslights her by making up an evil organization called...
Yes. The mastermind is
the Diablo's cult, which plans to revive a demon lord, and that's why he needs the girl's help. He, introducing himself as Shadow and revealing his magical power, the girl accepts the offer, saying she will put her life on the line and punish the guilty with death. He names her Alpha from the Greek alphabet and founds the organization called Shadow Garden. But the funny thing about this interaction is that the Diablo's cult actually exists, but he doesn't know it himself. Like I said in the beginning, he thinks that they know that the cult doesn't exist, and because it doesn't exist, that means they must be role-playing with him, because no matter what random bullshit he comes up with, his friends always have perfect reactions. For example, when he threw a knife to a map and told exactly where his sister was kidnapped, the odds of it being astronomically low, but the most logical answer would be that they knew where she was and wanted to include him in their plot. Yeah, bullshitting your way through while being right is very funny in its own right. It's like playing a poker game without looking at your own cards, bluffing, and then winning the game while getting complimented on how outstanding your skills are. This is how I would describe this anime in one sentence if it was a regular 12-episode series, since usually when a new series is released it takes about 3 volumes of material and puts it in 12 or 13 episodes. But the studio took 2 volumes plus a 4th volume's auxiliary chapter and made 20 episodes, making the story very extensive, so much so that it also has a lot of bonus content like the anime's mini-series called KAGE-JITSU, which is uploaded on YouTube. Or the Eminence in Shadow RPG video game. You can play it on Google Play Store for the new content, since the original series has 3 time skips which anime, manga and light novel does not cover, but the game focuses on those skipped moments so you can learn what happened during those times. Since the author created those stories, they are considered canon in the series, with some bonus content like talking to characters and seeing their personal stories. Or you can check out all its available content on YouTube channel named Glitter. And then there's also a manga's adaptation which uses light novels as its source material to create a more comedic atmosphere than our narratives. There's also a spin-off manga called The Eminence in Shadow Side Story. There's a lot of plot going on, but starting on the anime, then moving to RPG video game, then light novel or the manga seems like a nice start for the new fans. While the game focuses on the time skip on the supporting characters when they were younger, while the light novel and the manga moves forward after the anime ends. And if that is still not enough, you can read the web novels, which is a draft version of light novels, which after the 3rd volume the timeline changes completely, so you can start reading the web novel from 143rd chapter. The Eminence in Shadow entire story, which also includes all the media there is written from multiple perspectives, one normal and one special.
Is that the reason we split up? Lord Shadow is so brilliant!
Well, I'm lost.
A multi-perspectivity concept in the story is not new. All the stories are written this way. It's because writers know that one character cannot carry the entire show, so they create multiple perspectives, most often in opposition to each other, or to illuminate different elements of a plot. Since the Eminence in Shadow series does a really good job of following it in each episode by highlighting Cid's craziness with how our characters react to his shenanigans. I mean, it's literally the point of this multi-perspectivity writing, but still, you have to be a good damn writer to make it look so awesome. For example, if you were looking from a normal person's perspective, you might be thinking, why the fuck are you just standing there and why are you smiling? But then we see his real intentions and learn that this is not his first time beating up some delinquents. When that happens, the train of thought comes upside down by showing us things we want us to see and then doing 180 by surprising us completely from another perspective. Even the anime's opening has that element. By hiding its real plot, it's a great way to misdirect the audience and build up the wrong idea for people who use the anime's opening to gauge whenever or not they want to watch a show. Well, that's part of why they exist in the first place, but the Eminence in Shadow opening combined with the first episode creates an idea about the direction of a show, only for the main character to enter another world at the end and throw all those expectations out of the window. But it wasn't pointless to watch, since the series thrives on misunderstanding and misdirection amongst its characters by creating these 2 vastly different perspectives on the world depending on who's looking at it. To Cid, everything is a game or a performance and nothing else.
I make a very clear distinction between what's important to me and what's of no consequence. As people go through life, they collect more things that have value to them. They make friends, find significant others, get jobs. But me? I trimmed the fat, and when I was done, all I had left was what I absolutely couldn't do without. And that's why I don't particularly care what happens to anything else.
so he's not taking the world seriously, while to everyone else, the world is a dark and dangerous place, full of conspiracy and death. There are times when the tone shifts, depending on who the camera is following, and this disparity only grows larger as the series progresses. So in a way, the opening has nothing to do with the show itself, but it has some connections. But to see those connections and understand it, you have to watch the anime itself, and then pieces of information start to connect from the opening. For example, in the opening, the girls are like magical girls, hiding their identity, wearing brightly colored outfits, and fighting off the forces of evil with flashy magic while being under the light of the sun. In contrast to an actual show, the girls wear dark clothes and fight off evil with blades and bloodshed in secret, under the cover of night. In every way, they are the opposite of magical girls we see in the opening, yet for some reason the actual story from it hasn't changed at all. If we go back to the kidnapping scene with another understanding of a character who was standing in the corner, we could have a different opinion of him before and after realizing that being an overpowered vigilante is his actual dream, and he let it happen because he wanted to test his fighting skills against stronger opponents.
I'm just a stylish ruffian slayer.
Stylish? Ruffian Slayer?
It's no good. If that's how I do against an ex-soldier, I'll never be the Eminence in shadow.
It is possible to consider that perspective jumping may look like a cheap way to make a story better, but that is not true. In reality, the writer has to write multiple viewpoints to make it look so awesome. Otherwise, the story would become very dull to watch if we focus only on one protagonist at one time, and because of it, writers have to know what perception to use and when. There are two versions of a story, a normal version and a special version. The normal version is used for serious situations, especially if the main character is a fucking lunatic. On the other hand, a special version is the exact opposite of a normal version. It has more comedy and is told from a main character's POV. The protagonists who have special circumstances you don't see from other people should also be considered a special perspective, since from a normal version it can be fully showcased and understood. When the special perspective is introduced to the show, it could also be used to showcase a person's inner monologue. I personally enjoy both versions as they complement each other in the story. When making gaps in characters' thoughts, it creates tension, making watching the show requiring full concentration on what is happening. I sometimes wish it could show both perspectives at the same time, confirming what my imagination came up with for the other person. These inner monologues are more common in the light novels, so I would really recommend reading it from the first volume. Currently, the first season of anime has ended with a confirmed second season, which will cover at least one arc, but others are a little unclear. But in the last episode there was foreshadowing to which arcs the second season will cover, one of which is when the Beatrix called the Shadow Stolen Technique as a vampire attack. Another is when the Shadow Garden were sending their personnel to investigate a lawless city while keeping a close eye on the major corporate alliance, and also the pair of Asset Masters appearance. Not to mention, the anime has already covered the 4th volume's auxiliary chapter in the first episode. I will not be surprised if it will have 20 episodes again. If that is true, I hope that the second season would come as soon as possible, and of course I will be waiting for it.